வணக்கம் டிடி நேயர்களே. நாங்கள் பிராங்க் ஸ்கார்பிட்டி மார்க்கம் மேயரோடு ஒரு சந்திப்பு இங்கே நடைபெற இருக்கின்றது. எனது ஸ்கிரீனில் இப்போது மேயர் மார்க்கம் பிராங்க் ஸ்கார்பிட்டி அவர்கள் நம்முடன் இணைந்திருக்கிறார்கள். அவர்களிடம் ஒரு சிறு உரையாடல் மார்க்கம் சிறியை பற்றியதும் தற்போது கோவிட் பேண்டமிக் காலகட்டத்திற்கு பின்பு நடந்து கொண்டிருக்கின்ற சில நடவடிக்கைகள் பற்றிய ஒரு சிறப்பு ஒரு சந்திப்பு இப்போது இடம்பெற இருக்கின்றது. Welcome Frank Scarpitti to TT HD Television. It's a real pleasure to meet you. How are you doing today?
Very good, Sinthu, and Vanakkam to everyone, and great to be with you. And before you get into the really tough questions, I just want to say thanks to TT for the great work that they do in connecting the Tamil community. Certainly with all the issues and certainly with all the different events, I always take great pride in the fact that the city of Markham is the most diverse community in all of Canada. And it's thanks to organizations like yours that really connect us to the entire community. So thank you for the great work that you do.
And thank you for joining us today. And I want to give a little bit of background on you to our TT viewers. So I'm sure they know you, but I don't think they know the detail and the extent of all the great work and how long you've been in the political career and all the organizations and all the boards that you have been part of. It looks like you were pretty much born and brought up in Markham with the way it sounds like. So I'm going to go over the list with the TT viewers so they also know you better and understand you better. Markham Mayor Frank Scarpitti was appointed as the mayor from 1992 to 1994, and he has served in various roles in the municipal politics as York Regional Councillor, Budget Chief, and the Deputy Mayor. He was elected in 2006 as a mayor to replace Don Cousins, who had retired, and he was re-elected in 2010. He was also re-elected in 2014 with almost 71% of the votes. And he has served in various town committees over the years. He's been a chair of York Region's Planning and Economic Development Committee, member of the Finance and Administrative Committee, member of the Community Services Committee, co-chair for the Coyote at the City of Markham, chair of York Regional Planning and Economic Development Committee, member of the Transit Committee, Solid Waste Committee, York Region's Youth Advisory Committee, Markham Theatre Board, Rouge Park Alliance, Canada Day Committee, Power Stream. He's been the vice chairman of the Power Stream, and he's been the chair of York Regional Services Board. The list just goes on and on and on. Looks like you've been part of literally everything. How has your experience been serving for the Markham over the years?
Well, for me, it's been a real honor. And, now looking back, it's great to say that I'm the longest serving member of council now and the longest serving mayor, but for the city of Markham. But to really say that in 2021, the city marked its 50th anniversary. Our roots as communities goes back a lot longer than that, over 225 years. But in terms of when the province of Ontario set up York Region, and when they set up York Region, they set up the 9 municipalities. That was, we marked the 50th anniversary last year. And it's fair to say, to be able to serve for me as long as I have, it's been a real honor. And to see the way that the whole community has progressed, it's with great pride, that I say that the city of Markham is the most diverse community in all of Canada. And I think that diversity has really strengthened our community on so many levels, the social fabric, the way that we've come together, particularly during the pandemic, to support each other. And from an economic point of view, I mean, the countless number of businesses that have been started by newcomers who've come into our community and from really the ground up, sometimes starting these businesses in their basement or the garage, and they grow and they become big employers in the area. The progress that's been made is truly outstanding. And for me, it's been as I said, a real honor to watch the community grow and to see the hopes and dreams of people who've come from different parts of the world have their fulfillment here in the city of Markham. It's really been quite astounding to watch it all happen.
Right. And also, I guess, also being part of all these committees and boards, you understand the depth of, all the aspects of it in a lot more detail, I guess, versus other people, right? So
well, I think it's sort of, the sort of, again, the honor to serve and delve into these issues.
Right,
I also
right.
will say, though, that the city of Markham,
Mm-hmm.
two levels, the city of Markham and York Region, we're both very lucky and fortunate to have, qualified professional staff
Mm-hmm.
who I think have been leaders in many respects when it comes to municipalities. I consider the city of Markham a premier municipality in all of Canada for all the financial management. We've had the lowest average tax increase for the past 17 years. We've been deemed the top 100 in the top 100 employers the city of Markham has by the Forbes list. We received very good ratings from the C.D. Howe Institute on our budgeting and transparency for budgeting. So, I mean, the list goes on, the sustainability that we have as well, our green print plan to be net zero by 2050. We truly stand out when it comes to municipalities across the country. And so for the size of municipality that we are, I really pay tribute to the councils and to the staff over those 50 years that have made us the incredible community that we are today.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing to hear. And again, we appreciate all the work and all your, effort in building this community up to this level. We definitely recognize all of it. That's why we wanted to meet you today. And just sort of getting to more specific questions now that we've dealt with this pandemic in the past 2 years. That seems to be the main, course of event throughout the whole regions and municipalities. So how is Markham doing now that, the mask mandates have lifted up and just the pandemic has a little bit, is sort of coming to a normal, we hope to see a normality soon. So how is the city of Markham doing as a whole, and how do you find the citizens are doing with the lifting of the mask mandates?
Well, I just from personal observation, and it really depends sort of the different environments, but just driving around and looking at some of the different areas. For example, I still see a fair bit of compliance, if you will, self-compliance,
Right.
that people are wearing masks. Yeah, still wearing masks in places where there's a high concentration. Not everywhere.
Right.
I think some of it, people make their judgment about where they want to do that, but there's still a lot of people doing it. I was pleased to see that the medical officer of health at the province of Ontario is extending the mask mandate to the transit systems. Okay. And I think that's important because people are close and they are spending most times a fair bit of time on transit getting to work and back home. Okay. And I just say our own leadership here. I mean, when I came forward at regional council to have the mandatory masks here in York Region, I can tell you that caused a domino effect right across the Greater Toronto area. It was sort of being thought about, but when we did it here, I was getting emails from municipalities across Canada saying, "Oh, why can't we have a mask mandate here? Why doesn't our council have the mask mandate in our community?" Right. So it really started a whole domino effect right across the whole country. Mm-hmm. And really, obviously, we were very, very pleased to see the vaccines come forward and provide that level of protection. But the masks always, throughout the whole pandemic, has provided a level of protection that's pretty cost effective too.
And even in
And
schools,
again,
they're highly encouraging within the classrooms as well, right?
it's a pretty simple thing to do, and it just provides you that layer of protection. And I'll just say that I continue to do it, wear them when we're indoors with other people, and even outdoors where there's close proximity. And where sometimes we stop to take a picture. There's no talking. We
Right.
we kind of quickly take the picture, but I continue to do it, and certainly encourage others to do it. And you know what? At the end of the day, it's like anything, Sinthu. I got asked at the very beginning of the pandemic, before anybody knew really about the coronavirus. There were members of our community who had maybe heard about what was going on in other parts of the world. They started wearing masks, and I was asked, well, what did I think about that? And I said, it holds true today.
Mm-hmm.
I would never criticize any individual who wants to take extra measures to protect themselves and to protect their family. Right. And that relates to all kinds of things in life. Some people obviously would never take the risk of crossing the road in the middle of middle between signalized intersections. Others take other steps during their activities outdoors related to the sunshine. Right. At the end of the day, people, when they take those extra measures, I would never criticize anybody for taking extra measures to keep themselves safe, and certainly to keep the community safe as well.
Okay, awesome. That was some really key important pointers that our viewers should really keep in mind. I wanted to translate a little bit for our Tamil-speaking viewers about some of your responses. Frank சொல்லியிருந்தார், மாஸ்க் போடுவதை அது கட்டாயம் நிச்சயமில்லை என்று எடுத்திருந்தாலும் எமது சுகாதாரத்தை ஒட்டி, அதாவது நாங்கள் இந்த தொற்று நோயிலிருந்து நம்மை காப்பாற்ற வேண்டும், எமது சுற்றி இருப்போரை காப்பாற்ற வேண்டும் என்று நினைத்தால் தொடர்ந்தும் அதை ஒரு தற்பாதுகாப்புக்காக அணிவது மிகவும் நல்லது என்றும், அத்தோடு அதாவது போக்குவரத்து பொது சம்பந்தப்பட்ட இடங்களில், அதாவது பஸ் வாகனங்களில், பேருந்துகளில், சப்வே ஸ்டேஷன், அது அப்படியான இடங்களில் மீண்டும் அந்த மாஸ்க் நிச்சயமாக போட வேண்டும், முகம் மூடிய நிச்சயமாக அணிய வேண்டும் என்பதை மாகாணம் கொண்டு வரப் போகின்றது என்பதையும் தெரிவித்திருந்தார். நிச்சயம் பாடசாலைகளில் பிள்ளைகள் போட்டிருந்தால் நல்லது. அத்தோடு மிகவும் நெருக்கமான பலர் கூடியிருக்கும் இடங்களிலும் தொடர்ந்து இதை அணிவது நமக்கு நல்லது, இந்த தொற்று நோயிலிருந்து நம்மளை காப்பாற்றலாம் என்பதை மிகவும் தெளிவாக இங்கு கூறியிருந்தார். Thank you, Frank. Next, Markham is becoming one of the most expensive places to live in the province, and I know recently I've heard there's been an announcement that there are going to be a number of new houses, new development that's also going to be coming in Markham. But in reality, I know there are some housing so there are some interest rate adjustments, and there are some housing rules and regulations that the government is putting in place. But just realistically, how are our children, our future generation, may be able to afford to, purchase or rent a house in Markham in the future? What are the actions that are, potentially in plans to help the residents have affordable homes in the city of Markham?
Well, this is a real serious issue, and I made a commitment at the beginning of this term, right at the night of the inaugural when we were sworn in.
Right.
It's about 3.5 years ago now. It's gone by pretty fast, given everything that's happened. Right. That we would hold a housing summit. We this issue has been an issue that's been around for the last number of years. Right. And recognizing that it is a complex issue. Mm-hmm. And there isn't one solution that's going to solve the whole problem. But the fact is, we needed to think about what we needed to do here locally, and hopefully entice the other levels of government to also take action by holding the housing summit. So we held that. It got delayed because of the pandemic, but we've been working with nonprofit groups to talk about how we can assist them to get more nonprofit housing in the city of Markham, and trying to look at ways for our own system, but also help them when they are dealing with other levels of government. And I was very pleased that Minister Hamad Hassan, the Minister of Housing federally, was able to join us and kick off the Housing Summit, along with Premier Doug Ford, and along with Steve Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs.
Yes.
And I would just say that I think we captured the attention of those levels of government by holding that summit. We had a wonderful program, talked about the opportunities that we can undertake here, and also what we need to do with the other levels of government. So for us, we are going to be coming forward with inclusionary zoning, looking at ways to incorporate a certain percentage of affordable housing. So when a project comes forward, it's going to be potentially market housing, because that is something that obviously has been selling and doing quite well over the last number of years. But we would also look at ways to include affordable housing within those projects, either home ownership that's affordable or rental. And I can tell you that as the mayor, I've been a strong advocate of increasing rental housing. We just had a project about a couple of weeks ago. They're doing a seniors project, which is a life lease. So that, to begin with, that product, the life lease product, is more affordable. And then included in that project, which we insisted on, I insisted on it, and as did other members of council, that they also have rental as part of the project. So there's 150 rental units that were incorporated in that, just that one project alone, because we have to increase the mix of housing that's available in our community. So we're doing what we can locally with the tools that we have. We also took the added step, and this is something that we've been looking at, and we'll come up with a more permanent solution. But in the meantime, we've also discounted the amount of parkland that a builder would have to give the city of Markham for rental units or for affordable ownership, recognizing that there's a lot of demands that are required of builders, and that if they were supplying those things, then they would get a bit of a break. Now, others have said they have to have more of a break, and we're trying to balance that between, obviously trying to make housing more affordable, but at the end of the day, we also believe in complete communities, making sure that there's parks and making sure that there's facilities. And by the way, we're adding a lot of great facilities in the south end of Markham, which has a large Tamil community. So we have to ensure that when the community is finally built and built out, that people also have those recreational facilities. The other part too, that I've said for many months now, the last few years, is really the planning process in the province of Ontario is broken. It just takes way too long for housing that you planned for to when actually a home is available for someone to move in. Yeah. And I can only speak to Markham, where many years ago,
pandemic just made it worse, right?
Well, and we're trying to, we tried to get ahead of the curve. We started the planning process early. We started doing the studies earlier. It really hasn't mattered. Here we are, over 10 years of this new area in the north end of Markham that was planned for future growth. To this day, we still do not have one family that has moved into a home in that area. And that's an indication of how long the process takes. Yeah. And so, and I think the provincial government recognizes that the process is an issue. It's not the only issue. So we've asked, I've asked for different parts of the process to be removed. because at the end of the day, I think the city of Markham has the sophistication, the region of York has the sophistication to deal with some of the policies on their own,
Right.
to give us some of the, and they've done a bit of this, but one of the things that we've heard a lot about is municipal zoning orders and the provincial government to be able to use municipal zoning orders as a way to expedite specific projects. They've used it in Markham, and I'm glad they did, for long-term care facilities, because the organizations that want to build long-term care facilities have to go through the process, it would still be probably another anywhere from 3 to 5 years before they get the approval to actually build. So we've asked for that same tool, and most recently, the province did indicate that they are willing to give municipalities infrastructure and housing accelerator. However, they didn't go far enough, Sindhu, and that we have to now, on a per case basis, ask for the opportunity to use that tool, and then the province will decide whether we can use that tool. Well, the reason we asked for that tool was to, in fact, get projects that would provide rental, affordable housing, long-term care, seniors housing through the process faster, and let us decide as local municipalities where we could do that. And most recently, the federal government also included $4 billion in their budget to build 100,000 housing units over the next number of years. I'm hoping that the city of Markham will be able to get some of that funding to, in fact, provide some of that housing within our own community. And one last piece that I've requested is that young families, first-time home buyers, I mean, part of the problem is getting the supply out there, but this is going to become a real concern if the interest rates continue to grow. It might force prices to go down, but it also may mean bigger payments. Most likely will mean bigger payments for young people and young families. I asked the federal government to consider the ability for first-time home buyers only. So which is typically young people that are trying to get into the market, that they be able to write off a portion of their mortgage or maybe the whole thing, to be able to have a tax write-off for that as a way to help these young people who are trying to buy their first home.
Right. Okay. That's amazing, because if they're not able to afford these homes, there's no point having so many supplies, right? So
yeah, and I think there's going to have to be other mechanisms put in place. Again, you know, we've kind of allowed the free market, and I believe in the free market. But now there's a very high percentage of individuals and companies that own more than one property. And there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but that's the thing. Then they're competing. We have enough supply. Well, fine. That's maybe a different scenario. But when obviously we don't have enough supply, and then the first-time home buyer, the young professional, young families that are trying to buy their first home are competing with that, I think we have to level the playing field in some way.
Okay, awesome. That's great. So just for our TT viewers, just want to translate a few key points. We spoke a lot, but just wanted to highlight a few key points. So TT நேயர்களுக்காக Frank சொல்லியிருந்தார், தற்போது மார்க்கம் நகரத்தில் வீடுகளின் விலை மிகவும் உயர்ந்து போயிருக்கின்றது. எல்லோருக்கும் வாங்க முடிய அந்த சந்தர்ப்பம் இல்லை. அதை தவிர்ப்பதற்கு நாங்கள் என்ன செய்யலாம் என்று கேட்டிருந்த போது, பல வீடுகள் கட்டமைப்பதற்காக திட்டம் இப்போது வந்திருக்கின்றது. பல எண்ணிக்கையான வீடுகள் கட்டப் போகிறார்கள். அத்தோடு வாடகைக்கு உரிய வீடுகளின் எண்ணிக்கையை உயர்த்த போகிறார்கள். அது மட்டுமில்லாமல் முக்கிய பிரச்சனையாக அவர்களுக்கு இருப்பது வீடுகள் கட்டுவதோ அதற்குரிய வேலைகளை செய்வதற்கு ஆட்கள் எடுப்பதோ இல்லை. என்ன பிரச்சனை என்றால், அதற்குரிய உத்தரவு, அதற்கு ஒரு வீடு கட்டுவதற்கு முதல் ஒரு காணியை எடுப்பதற்கோ அதுக்குரிய உத்தரவுகள் எடுப்பதற்கு அரசிடம் இருந்து அந்த 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 உத்தரவுகளை எடுப்பதில் தான் மிகவும் தாமதம் ஏற்படுகின்றது. அதற்குரிய அதை மிகவும் சீக்கிரமாக எடுப்பதற்குரிய வேலைகளில் அவர்கள் ஈடுபட்டிருப்பதாகவும் அதன் மூலம் பல வீடுகளை கட்டி கொடுப்பதற்கும் விலை குறைந்த அளவுக்கு அதற்குரிய முதலாவதாக வீடு வாங்குவோருக்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி குறைந்த விலையில் வீடுகளை அமைத்து தருவதாகவும் இப்போது மேயர் கூறியிருந்தார். அடுத்ததாக, because you mentioned about expanding the community and more houses are going to be potentially coming in the community and whatnot, there has been a discussion on Tamil monument in Markham. Councillor Usman mentioned this in the past, and I know this discussion happened sometimes last year, and it was supposed to be discussed last year in October, and with the pandemic and all, it could have got carried away. Just wanted to sort of bring that back now that we're in discussion about the community and potential plans coming up. Is there going to be a potential Tamil monument in Markham for the Tamil community? And because, it's very dear to our, heart and soul, and there are so many thousands of Tamils that reside in Markham and would love to see that and, gratitude towards it. So is there any potential plans for that?
Well, I want to address that, and I will, but I also want to say that I think the city of Markham, I'll say myself as mayor, certainly Councillor Usman, but other members of council as well, we've been very, very supportive of the Tamil community. And I want to put this in perspective because we are the most diverse, but fair to say, we have higher percentage of certain cultural groups over the other.
Right.
For me, that doesn't matter.
No.
We have accepted, we have welcomed people of all backgrounds, whether only 1% of the population up to whatever percentage, it doesn't matter. And I think in the city of Markham, we've demonstrated that support to the Tamil community in various ways.
Right.
First of all, the recognition of Thai Pongal, the recognition of Tamil Heritage Month,
right.
the naming of Vanny Street in the South End.
Yes.
Those were they weren't more than symbolic gestures. They were meaningful gestures to say that we truly welcome the Tamil community here and we thank you for the amazing contribution that you've made. And I will also say, as a municipal government, we've tried to recognize what our responsibility is to the local community as a municipal government. And I know we get asked to get engaged in international affairs, and my goodness, there's lots of them, right. Particularly these days.
Right.
And I want to always stay focused on the things that we can do.
Right.
But I'm very proud of the fact that the city of Markham was, I believe, the first municipal government to actually ask many years ago for the federal government to investigate genocide and to put resources to that, because that is the role of the federal government, and at least to work through international bodies. So
right.
we made that ask because we don't have the resources here at the city of Markham. That's clearly outside of our jurisdiction. But we did, on behalf of the Tamil community, ask the federal government to investigate genocide. When it comes to the monument, and I do, say you recognize Councillor Usman, who spoke very passionately about this, bringing the idea forward to Markham Council. So we referred that particular issue to our staff.
Okay.
Because we need to know, as the most diverse community in all of Canada, we've got various cultural groups who've come from different parts of the world. Many of them, sadly, have experienced trauma, have experienced loss of life
right.
in all kinds of different situations. And again, because we have that diversity here, we wanted to make sure that whatever policy we had about recognizing moments in history was going to be consistent. And so our staff, rightly so, did get the advice of a professional facilitator who said, if you have these requests coming, you really should develop an appropriate policy. And when you develop that policy, you need to engage the community, the broader community, because we've seen in other communities where announcements get made about monuments and then it gets a reaction from others in the community. And so our staff listened to that advice and said, if we're going to do this, we should be contemplating these requests in a consistent fashion and make sure that we have also engaged the community and have a very deliberate process as to how each idea will get evaluated. And I think that made sense. And unfortunately, because of the pandemic, okay, I mean, our staff have, they've done a terrific job, I think, all the way through keeping the city going, providing the services, and actually even enhancing services to our community, even with the pandemic. So this is something now that we just adopted an updated diversity action plan, and we wanted to do that first to guide any of the policies going forward from our diversity action plan. Now that that part is done, our staff will engage a consultant to help us work through an appropriate policy. So I know that's probably, not necessarily what the community wanted to hear, but I think in fairness to everyone, that the city of Markham, because of its diversity, because of the different backgrounds, because of the different experiences where people have come from other parts of the world, we need to make sure that we're not just dealing with these requests in an ad hoc basis, because ultimately, whatever the policy is going to be, whatever the criteria is going to be, we need to apply that consistently across the entire community. And by the way, this is what other cities have had to do. They've had to put these policies in place. We probably should have had them in place a little earlier, but to be honest with you, we don't get these type of requests every week. And I think we got this one, and it really kind of made us think about getting this policy in place. So probably that's something that will probably be done in the next term of council, but we want to make sure that the community gets engaged. But I know that with
they
the Tamil
haven't put a
community,
stop to it. There might be a potential based on.
It's about developing a policy
okay,
so that we can,
yeah,
we can deal with these requests. Now, hopefully, I know there's been a few ideas. I know it's just south of us, but with the new Tamil Community Center, there was also, I know, some discussion about having some kind of monument there at the Tamil Community Center, because that would also make a lot of sense, because it's the community center. It's on property that would be within the control of the Tamil community, and obviously, you don't have to wait for our policy there, because the one it's just south of us. But also it'd be a place where the Tamil community would gather, and I'll leave it to those that are involved with the Tamil Community Center to decide if there's an appropriate recognition at the Tamil Community Center itself.
Okay, so that's awesome. TG நேயர்களுக்கு மேரிடம் கேட்டிருந்தேன், தமிழர்களுக்காண்டிய ஒரு சின்னம், அதாவது நமது இன அழிப்பை அடையாளம் காட்டுவதற்காகவோ, நமக்கு நடந்த அட்டூழியங்களை ஒரு அடையாளம் காட்டுவதற்காகவோ தமிழர்களுக்கென ஒரு அடையாள சின்னம் மார்க்கம் நகரத்தில் கட்டப்போவதாக கவுன்சிலர் உஸ்மான் கூறியிருந்தார். அதனை தொடர்ந்து ஏதாவது நடவடிக்கைகள் எடுக்கப்பட்டதா என்பதை கேட்டிருந்த போது அவர் சொல்லியிருந்தார், அதற்காக உடனடியாக நடவடிக்கை எதுவும் எடுக்கவில்லை. ஒரு இன மக்களுக்கு ஒன்று செய்தால் மற்ற இன மக்களுக்கும் அதற்கு ஏற்ற மாதிரி செய்ய வேண்டும். அப்படி ஒரு 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 இன மக்களிடமிருந்து இப்படி ஒன்று வேணும் என்று கேட்கப்படும் போது அதற்குரிய சரியான பாலிசி, அதாவது அதற்குரிய சரியான அதற்குரிய சரியான முடிவுகள், உத்தரவுகள் எடுத்து அதற்கு பேர்ந்துதான் அதை நடைமுறையில் கொண்டு வர முடியும் என்பதும், தற்போது அதற்குரிய பேச்சுவார்த்தைகள் அவர்களிடம் நடைபெற்றுக் கொண்டிருப்பதாகவும், எதிர்காலத்தில் நிச்சயமாக அப்படி ஒன்றை முடிவெடுத்த பிறகு செய்ய முடியும் என்பதையும் இங்கு அறிவித்திருந்தார். அதனைத் தொடர்ந்து next another question is, since we've addressed the Tamil community issue, and now considering what's happening in Ukraine, we hear in the recent news that Markham is sending about 25,000 for humanitarian relief for Ukraine. What do you have to say in that, and what are the other steps that City of Markham is taking in terms of supporting Ukraine?
Again, it's always difficult. It's been amazing, the response of individuals and companies, and right. I know there's been a tremendous effort to assist in any way that they can. Mm-hmm. I think it's been quite inspiring the way the international community has come together to support right. Ukraine. And again, as federal governments, they are the ones that have the resources to do this in a big way. Fair to say that we thought about how we could do this, and we actually, this is the beauty of diversity, Cynthia. We actually have an annual Chinese New Year's dinner in the city of Markham. It's one that I hold, and then the co-chairs, Regional Councillor Jolie, Councillor Alan Ho, Councillor Amanda Colucci, and Councillor Issa Lee are the co-chairs of it. They raise money every year through the Chinese New Year's celebration. Right. And the last couple of years, we haven't been able to do it, but we took some of the funds from a previous dinner, and we were able to contribute that 25,000. Oh, wow. 5,000 is going to the Markham Rotary Club Foundation because they are sending medical supplies. And then the rest will be through the Ukrainian Red Cross, because they are providing a lot of humanitarian relief. So again, we did it. These are not tax dollars. They were fundraised through that event. Right. I think at the end of the day, it's always a challenge to use taxpayers' money, because at the local level, the only way we really get our funds are from property taxes. Yeah. So I'll just say, we're really don't have the resources to start handing out international support, but we thought this was an appropriate way of dollars that were raised through fundraising efforts to donate. And I think where I think the city of Markham will be able to help, as we've done in the past, to various communities, more recently the Syrian refugees that came, is that we'll be able to help and assist, because we can motivate the community to make donations to support the refugees when they arrive here, and also through some of our facilities and programs. I remember we brought in used books to the Syrian refugees. We allowed them to meet in our community centers. We'll be doing all of that when the Ukrainian refugees start arriving in bigger numbers. I know there's been a few families who've already arrived, but that's where I think we can really play an effective role in supporting the refugees that come here. But it has been, to watch the images that we've watched have been very disturbing. Particularly the deaths of young children, and so we're helping out. It's really a gesture in many respects, because we know there's significant more dollars coming from foreign countries that are helping through various agencies, and our federal government is doing that as well.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so sort of going back to the funding and how it's sort of being allocated to small businesses. Initially, when we started our conversation, you said how proud you are with individuals starting off in the garages, and now business owners of bigger companies and whatnot. How are the programs or funds available for or are being allocated for small businesses by the city of Markham? And is there any, especially after the pandemic, is there any more particular plans in place for the small businesses to sort of nurture and grow?
Well, we certainly continue to monitor the small businesses. I'll say again, and I do give credit to both the federal government and provincial governments, because they have the resources available to them, and they've certainly provided support to small, medium-sized businesses and different organizations. I really am proud of what we did. Literally within the first few weeks, I mean, I don't think it was even a month old yet, but we made a very determined, I saw these announcements coming from other municipalities about 30 days or 60 days of tax relief. I said to our council, look, it's going to be a bumpy ride, and we certainly didn't expect it to last this long. I just thought, at least for the year,
got affected the most, right? So
absolutely, because again, they don't necessarily have the resources or the flexibility to move around with budgets. That it's a small business, and usually it's all hands on deck to run their businesses in the best of times.
One of them at TT.
It's been tough. So what we did is that we said, look, for that first year, we actually allowed for no penalties or interest to be charged on any outstanding property tax bills.
Okay.
We did that literally within the first few weeks of the pandemic. And I'd say it was the most comprehensive tax relief that any municipality offered up in that first few weeks of the pandemic. Others said 30 days, some said 60, maybe some said 90. We said no, right to the end of the year. We don't want people to have to worry about paying the interest or any penalties if they couldn't pay their property tax bill. And I'm very proud of that. We also did not put in place that it was supposed to be for a tax, not a tax increase, rather a increase in the water rate in 2020. And we eliminated that increase for the water rate. Again, saving money for homeowners and also saving money for businesses. And we eliminated for 2020 the contribution for stormwater management. We're going back into older areas of Markham because they were not built to the standards they're built today. New subdivisions are built today. They are deficient in terms of stormwater management. So really, because of that, we wanted to increase the flood protection in those communities. It's a multi-million-dollar program into the hundreds of millions of dollar program over 20 years. And so we're systematically dealing with the more critical areas, and we'll just continue to build and improve the flood protection over the many years. We eliminated the stormwater management fee in that first year. And for homeowners, it was a little bit of a plus, but for businesses, it was a big savings because the homeowners get a flat rate, but where business owners get charged based on the value, the market value assessment of their property. So it had savings for businesses. So again, we did that because we knew these are challenging times and we wanted to help our businesses. That's on the financial side. Then the city of Markham, very proud that we were the first municipality to participate in the Main Street program. So this was a program actually developed by the BIAs, the Business Improvement Associations of the various main streets in areas in the city of Toronto. They were the lead on this, and they'd had the program going, but thanks to the support of the federal government and also some technology companies, they wanted to expand this program nationally to help small businesses. The city of Markham was the first city to jump on that program and participate in the program so that our local main streets and small businesses, they didn't have to be on a main street,
Right.
could take advantage of that support and that program.
Okay.
And then the other thing, it was good timing. We were developing, had just started our tourism board, which we call Destination Markham.
Okay.
And so we had just set that up. They were just about to get rolling. And we said, hang on a minute. Yes, of course, tourism you'll eventually get to, but we want you to develop a program to help small businesses. So their first focus was to just get out there and promote main streets, the small businesses, the restaurants, and Destination Markham, in my opinion, has done a fantastic job of promoting restaurants of all different cultures, because we want people to recognize, number one, these businesses needed our support. And number two, this is the plus of Markham. You get to eat anything from all over the world without having to leave the city of Markham. You get to enjoy the wonderful cuisine that's here. So we've had numerous programs, and I know our Economic Development Office will continue to work with the business community to assist them in any way that we can. And we were big advocates too on behalf of the business community. It was the city of Markham that made the request to the provincial government to, first of all, we allowed for the expansion of patios to go into the parking lots and set up outdoor patios, where in the past, when the capacity was full, you wouldn't have had room to do. But because there was room, we said, we're going to let you expand into those areas. And then we passed a resolution, and I wrote to the provincial government to allow for the extension, the patio licenses to be exempt from ongoing applications, because it only lasted for a certain number of days. And we said restaurants really should get the license, and then it should be in effect for the rest of the season. They shouldn't have to apply all the time. And the LCBO did grant that exemption. And again, the city really was a strong advocate on behalf of small business, and will continue to be.
Okay, awesome. So that's for the TT viewers. சிறிய வர்த்தகங்கள் மார்க்கம் நகரத்தில் இருக்கும் சிறிய வர்த்தகங்களுக்கு இந்த பேண்டமிக் காலத்துக்கு அப்புறம் எப்படியான வகையில் நகரம் உதவி செய்கிறார்கள் என்பதை கேட்டிருந்த போது, நீங்கள் ஒரு வர்த்தகத்துக்கோ அல்லது உங்களது வீட்டிற்கோ உரிமையாளராக இருக்கும்போது அந்த காணிக்கு வரி கட்டணம் கட்ட வேண்டியதாக இருக்கும். அந்த வரி கட்டணம் தாமதமாக கட்டினால் முந்தைய காலகட்டத்தில் நகரம் அதற்கு இன்னும் ஒரு கட்டணம் அதற்கு விதிக்கும். அந்த கட்டணத்தை இல்லாமல் செய்தார்கள் எனவும், தண்ணீர் உபயோக கட்டணத்தை கூட்டுவதாக இருந்ததாகவும், அதனை இந்த பேண்டமிக் காலத்தை ஒட்டி பேண்டமிக்கில் இருந்து இப்போது நாங்கள் ஒரு மீறி வருவதாக இருப்பதால் உங்களுக்கு உதவி செய்வதற்காக அந்த கட்டணத்தையும் இல்லாமல் செய்ததாகவும், மற்ற உணவகங்கள், அதாவது மார்க்கம் நகரத்தில் இருக்கும் அனைத்து உணவகங்களுக்கும் அவர்களுக்கு முடிந்த அளவில், ஏனென்றால் பேண்டமிக் காலகட்டத்தின் போது மிகவும் பாதிக்கப்பட்டது உணவகங்கள் தான். அத்தகைய உணவகங்கள் அனைத்தையும் பிரபலப்படுத்தி அவர்களுக்கு முடிந்த உதவிகளை செய்ததாகவும் செய்து கொண்டு இருப்பதாகவும் பிராங்க் அவர்கள் தெரிவித்திருந்தார்கள். Thank you, Frank. We just have two more important questions. We spoke about programs, we spoke about potential funds and all the supports that are being available for small businesses and whatnot. What are the programs that are potentially in place for people facing adversity, such as persons with disability or seniors? I know we've had long-term care issues during COVID period, and there were a lot of seniors that were affected by that. And you did mention there are some policies or programs in place in getting the approval to build long-term care sooner and whatnot. Is there any other particular programs in place for these persons with disability or seniors?
Well, one of the things, first of all, on the long-term care, the
Right.
city of Markham doesn't build them, but one of the things we've done
Okay.
has been very supportive of a number of organizations who are working to build long-term care.
Okay.
And part of that has been supporting MZOs, Minister's Zoning Order, in order to get through the planning process faster. Because like I said, it just takes way too long
Right.
in Ontario to do that. And it's because we have to follow the legislative requirements. So
Right.
municipalities do what we do because we have to follow the law. And
Right.
so we supported those organizations so that they can move faster to get long-term care built quicker. I'm also supporting a couple of local organizations, St. Elizabeth Healthcare and Evergreen Hospice, to get a hospice built, residential hospice built for people who who need end of life support. And that's obviously for the individual, but for their families as well. Okay. And hopefully in the next few months, we're going to get some announcements made about that. I know those two organizations are working very, very hard. The other part that we've been doing is examining how we design our communities, everything from homes, so how we can create more age-friendly homes, because I think for the most part, if people can, they want to stay in their own home, they're comfortable with their home, they're comfortable with their neighborhood, it's close to where their friends are. Yeah. And listen, as much as there's always a strong desire to do that, sometimes people just need such extensive care that's not always possible to do. Right. But for many, they can. And with the supportive programs, they can stay. But your home has to be designed with a lot more flexibility. So we've been working with the building community to try and get that. And overall, we're putting in age-friendly policy. Okay. So everything from homes to parks to the design of community centers to make sure that it's more welcoming and more user-friendly for people who are aging. Because over the next 20 years, we're going to see over 300% increase percentage-wise in the number of seniors. And we want to make sure that both homes, facilities, and the community are designed so that they're comfortable within their community. And the other part, I will say, I think it's been evident. I know we have a number of seniors organizations, and there's been, I think, an amalgamation of a couple of Tamil seniors groups. They've come together. And so, at the Unique Community Center and at Armadale Community Center, the facilities are there, and our staff work very closely with those seniors organizations to make sure that we're providing programs that are both helpful and meaningful. And it's been, I'll tell you, obviously the pandemic's had a lot of different impacts, but it's been tough on seniors who, in some ways, they faced isolation if they were living on their own. Some, not all, probably saw their families a little bit more. For those that were working from home, they had a bit more interaction. But at the end of the day, we do want to make sure that ultimately seniors do not feel isolated within our community. Right. We have facilities and programs that support them. And I think we're going to continue, as we always have in the city of Markham, to work with our seniors groups to make sure that their needs are being met. And at the Unique Community Center, there's not only the center there, but a hub there of various service providers so that they can actually get other help as well. It's one thing to go and enjoy and socialize and be active, which is all important. But then if a senior needs some additional help, there's a hub out of there where there's community services and some other organizations that can help support individuals in the community as well.
Okay, Okay, so that's amazing. வயது முதிர்ந்தோருக்கும், இயலாதவர்களுக்கும் என்னென்ன செய்வது ஆக திட்டம் இருக்கிறது என்று கேட்டபோது, ஏற்கனவே இருக்கின்ற கம்யூனிட்டி சென்டர்ஸ், அதாவது வென்னி ஸ்ட்ரீட்டில் அமைந்துள்ள அனி கம்யூனிட்டி சென்டரில் கணக்கு முதியோருக்கான திட்டங்களின் நடவடிக்கைகளும் இருந்து இருப்பதாகவும், பல திட்டங்கள், அதாவது வீடுகள் கட்டும் பொழுது முதியோருக்கு ஏற்ற வகையில் அவை அதற்கு பயன்படுத்தும் சாதனங்களையோ பயன்படுத்தும் படியமைப்புகளையோ அமைப்பதற்கு தாம் உதவி செய்வதற்கு பல திட்டங்கள் இருப்பதாகவும், வயது முதிர்ந்தோரை பராமரிக்கும் இடங்கள், அதாவது லாங் டேர்ம் கேர் சென்டர்ஸ் போன்ற இடங்களை மிகவும் விரைவாக கட்டுவதற்கு தாம் அரசுடன் தொடர்பு கொண்டு அதற்குரிய நடவடிக்கைகளை எடுத்துக்கொண்டிருப்பதாகவும் பிராங்க் அவர்கள் கூறியிருந்தார்கள். One last question is, we've touched upon developments happening, Tamil community, other humanitarian efforts, and a lot of issues or developments that have happened after the pandemic. Markham used to be, or it still is, very safe place to live and work, but recently we've been noticing some crimes. There's shootings and murders that's happening, and we're hearing them on the news. Why is that happening? Is there any guns or control on the guns and violence in place in Markham, or is there any plans or actions in place to sort of put a stop to these?
It's a concern, and a couple of things though I do want to say. Back in 2021,
right,
NUMBIO, which is an organization that actually measures a number of indicators,
right,
ranked the city of Markham the second safest city in all of Canada. And I think that's for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, we invest in York Regional Police, and that's an important thing. I applaud York Regional Police because they also build relationships with different community members in different communities, right, so that you get to meet and have those relationships built before there's any problems. I think that's important. Right. And I also attribute that to the people of Markham. If we have a low crime rate and we're deemed the second safest place in all of Canada, that's because of the people that we have here too. Right. People who have come from other parts of the world, who've suffered, they understand the devastation of personal loss of life with family members. And there's a real appreciation when people come here to Canada, they come to Markham, they really want to create a better life for their families. And so there's a commitment, a big commitment. And I say thank you to everyone who works hard at creating communities that support each other. So as a mayor in the GTA, we have spoken up over the last couple of years. We've asked the federal government to do a number of things, and I have to say the federal government has responded. We asked that the guns, and I know even here in York Region, when guns are captured as part of an arrest, very high percentage are guns that are illegal guns. You can't read the serial number, or they've come from another source outside of our area, in fact, outside of the country. So we asked the federal government to take more measures at the border to stop the infiltration of handguns coming into the country, taking away right at the source the opportunity to use those guns for crime. And so again, the federal government can speak on all the efforts they have done, but they have taken measures. I know just a few weeks ago, big news story about the number of guns they had seized at the border that were trying to make their way, and where they make their way into our communities is where they go. And so it's great that those efforts have been undertaken. Okay. The federal government has also banned assault style weapons, and there's a number of weapons that are captured under that scenario.
Okay.
Just a few weeks ago, and this is another thing that the GTA mayors have been requesting of the federal government and the provincial government as well, is that more dollars be made available to support programs that really are, I'll say, they're preventative medicine, to go into communities, to go work with organizations that provide support to young people, so that they don't have to turn to gangs to get their fulfillment. They don't have to turn to gangs because that's the only place they see for them to achieve, to achieve anything in life. So I thank Minister Marco Mendocino. He actually came to the city of Markham and announced a $250 million program, which will be spread out throughout the country, where the focus will be to those frontline organizations who are working with youth, trying to get youth develop skills through the programs that they have, and give them the tools that they need to succeed in life. And so I'm very, very proud that he chose Markham to come and announce the program, and also announce that the city is going to be getting funds through that program. Now, interesting, it won't be necessarily the city involved directly. Those dollars will flow through organizations that are working with marginalized youth. So I'm actually hoping that we'll see an opportunity through some of the existing Tamil organizations to support local Tamil youth with some of that funding. So this was a key part of our statement from the GTA mayors. I'd say it's almost a couple of years ago that we needed more dollars. And so $250 million from the federal government for their Builder Safer Communities Fund, again, to support young people and make sure that they have the skill set to succeed. And this is really what we have to do, really make all of our efforts work together to support youth, whether it's through this program and organizations that are helping youth directly. The investment that we've made, I am very proud of the fact that Ani Community Center, it was advanced several years, because I wanted to make sure that we were building that community center, because I know that there is a high percentage of young people and youth in the south part of Markham, and that we needed that facility sooner rather than later. And it's always been my philosophy that if you don't have facilities like that, then you miss out. You don't have that available for 5 years. You miss out on a big segment of the teenage population that doesn't have access to those programs. Well, what are they going to do when they don't have access to those programs?
That's when they go into other things, right?
Exactly. So this is why it was very important to advance the Ani Community Center and get it built for the Milliken Mills area years in advance of what was proposed. I don't blame staff. They systematically think about the dollars coming in and how we can build a community center and plan for it. And when that plan came forward, I was very adamant as the mayor that we needed to advance that. And now, the proof was in the pudding. When we opened up the Ani Community Center, it was the most successful uptake of any community center ever built in the city of Markham. And everything from the formal programs to drop-in programs, kids that are playing basketball, not just inside, but outside, all those basketball courts that we built there. So between the federal government and what we can do locally with our programs, again, it's important that youth get those opportunities and that they are able to see the potential in themselves, no matter what they want to accelerate at, sport, culture, arts, and make sure that they see the alternative of these programs and being able to reach their full potential. Because when they can't see that, when they don't see light at the end of the tunnel, then they're going to turn to other things to get their fulfillment in life. And so I will just say that it's not us saying it. It's a third-party organization saying it. We're still the safest. That does not diminish, though, the impact that anyone feels with crime in our community. And it's still low, but at the end of the day, between York Regional Police, the partnerships that we've formed, we're doing everything we can to ensure that we have a safe community. And it really is sad when there's a loss of life for anyone at any age, but when they're connected to gang activity, I think all of us have a responsibility to let youth know that they get involved in those activities. It's not a life that is one they really want to embark on. And I'm hoping through this program and what we've done as a city, and we'll continue to work with organizations to support them. I want the youth in the city of Markham to reach their full potential, and they get the support they need within our own community. I'm also very proud, by the way, and this was the leadership of our staff. I talked about our staff earlier and say how lucky we are. We formed a partnership with Humber College to give marginalized youth an opportunity. We donate used fire equipment, and in return, they provide some spots for us for marginalized youth to pursue a career as a firefighter.
Nice.
And again, that's a way of being able to support youth that may not think necessarily. Again, this is helping someone who doesn't know what opportunities are available to them.
Right.
By enlisting in the program, they get the support of Humber College, they get the support of our Markham Fire and Emergency Services, and hopefully a fulfilling career as a fighter versus ending up in a gang somewhere. And those are just some of the initiatives that we're undertaking here in the city of Markham.
Okay, all right, great. மார்க்கத்தில் தற்பொழுது நடைபெறுகின்ற கொலைகளோ துவக்கு சூடு நடவடிக்கைகளை எப்படி தடுப்பது, அதை தடுப்பதற்கு என்ன மாதிரி திட்டங்கள் வைத்திருக்கிறீர்கள் என கேட்டபோது, போர்டரில் அதுக்கு இங்கால் பக்கம் ஆக்கள் வரும் முதல் அதற்குரிய அவர்களை முழுவதாக பரிசோதனை செய்து எந்த ஆபத்து கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஆபரணங்களையோ எவற்றையும் இங்கால் கொண்டு வர முடியாதபடி அவர்கள் செய்வதாகவும், மற்றது இளைய தலைமுறை, அதாவது இளைய தலைமுறையை நன்றாக நல்வழிப்படுத்தினால் இப்படியான சம்பவங்கள் இடம்பெறாது என்பதை தாங்கள் மிகவும் அறிந்து வைத்திருப்பதாகவும், கம்யூனிட்டி சென்டர்ஸ் மூலமாக இளைய தலைமுறைக்குரிய பல திட்டங்களை தாங்கள் வகுத்திருப்பதாகவும் வகுக்க போவதாகவும் அவர்கள் கூறியிருந்தார். So thank you, Frank Scarpitti. It's been a real pleasure. We've touched upon so many different issues in your answers, and showed your expertise and your passion for what you do for our Markham City. So on behalf of TET viewers and our TET management here, we would really like to thank you for your time and all your honest and genuine answers and your feedbacks to us. Wish you all the best.
I just want to say thank you, and really to say this, that as mayor and as a council, we've worked hard to get the young subway extended all the way up to Highway 7.
Right.
That's happening. We worked hard to attract York University.
Right.
You talk about how youth can achieve their potential.
Yes.
They're going to be able, they're going to be able to go to university in their own backyard. They won't have to spend the thousands of dollars for accommodation. They're going to have this opportunity in their own backyard. Right. So I just say this, I am very proud of the Tamil community.
Thank you.
And I just say that I want the youth to stay here in the city of Markham.
Right.
I've always said, why do we work so hard to attract people if we can't keep them here? I want to keep them here. There's a great future for them. And it's always a work in progress. We have to keep working together. but I want them to see themselves and to see that this is the place for their future in the city of Markham.
Okay, amazing. Really, thank you for everything that you do for our community and, you know, our people here, and we really appreciate it. We hope to meet you on many other occasions, and we hope you will actually visit us next time in their studio itself. Hopefully this pandemic completely dies. So once again, thank you, Frank. It's been a real pleasure to meet you, and keep doing the amazing work that you do.
Thank you. Nandri. Thank you.
Nandri.